Sedgy Show, so why don't you?
I needed money 'cause I had none. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
You can try fighting the law all you want, but the law is always going to win. From politicians and celebrities to sports figures and business leaders, they're fighting the law. Now, here to sort out the nation's top legal news stories is America's favorite legal analyst, Royal Oakes. This is the Royal Oakes Show.
Robbing people with a 6-gun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
Thank you, Mike Horn, and welcome to the Royal Oakes Show, and welcome our esteemed co-host, Ken Jeffries.
Hello there.
How are you doing today?
Doing okay. Boy, you've been all over the place too, right?
I have
you
been,
were back
yeah.
east and you're back here.
Getting my frequent flyer miles. I was in Chicago 2 weeks ago. I was in Boston 1 week ago, or this last week.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
We're also joined by our millennial correspondent, Connor Oakes, but he's on the phone. Connor, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Connor?
I can hear you. I'm here on location. As millennial correspondent, it is my duty to report in on the events of the day. So I'm in Damascus, Syria, in a suburb near a gigantic crater.
But Connor, the thing is, you're going to be actually in the studio in a few minutes because you're just running late. So isn't that going to undermine your credibility when people actually see you here?
Nobody listens to the show for more than a minute in a row, so nobody's going to spot the inconsistency.
That's what the
or
experts
would have
say.
If you hadn't pointed it out.
Yeah, I was amazed when I've talked to radio experts, and of course Ken Jeffries is a radio expert.
Allegedly.
He's been in the business for several years. So I've heard that even in really super popular, top of the market New York, Chicago, people don't listen for more than like 15 or 20 minutes in many cases. And so programmers actually say to the hosts, oh, you can repeat yourself, every half hour, just do the same thing, say something good and say it again.
Well, you used to, there was one radio station you gave them 22 minutes, and they used to give you the world.
KFWB, you give us 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was the amazing voice, the heavy set fellow who was the voice?
Oh, I know
the
who
KFW,
was. John Swaney.
John Swaney, yeah. Just incredible pipes, fabulous voice.
Right.
He was a DJ, he was a news guy, and I think he passed on. I think the guy got up to the point where he was close to 500 pounds.
Yeah, they had to actually cut him out of the house and
literally
go to the
had
hospital.
to.
That was a shame.
So sad. So Connor, since you're there in the car, the traditional advice: turn down your radio, okay? And also, what you could do for a little gag, you could say, "I'm a long-time caller, first-time listener."
First-time caller. Yeah, absolutely.
People like to chortle at that. So, guys, we got some amazing stories to talk.
Laura, can you please help me?
Yes. We got some amazing stories to talk about this week. The Cosby trial. Is Bill headed for the big house? I'm going to give you my prediction, and I'm going to hold your feet to the fire, Ken Jeffries and Connor Oakes. I want to get your prediction as well. Comey's tell-all book hit the stores, where it's about to in a day or two, but we know all about it from the advanced stories. And so the question is, has he used up his 15 minutes of fame? Is he going to bring the president down? The raid on Michael Cohen's home, his bank account, his safe deposit box, is that illegal? And for you deep thinkers, and Connor, I know you're one of those, we're going to get into an intriguing question. Are chimpanzees people for purposes of the law? Now, before we get into the big stories, though, I wanted to say something about a couple of stories that might miss people's radar screen because there's so much else in the news, including Syria. You were telling me some updates, Ken Jeffries. I don't know if there's any new development beyond last night.
This morning, I think the Pentagon gave an update this morning. And Trump tweeted, I believe, that it was mission accomplished. I'm not
he
kidding.
Shouldn't say that.
He used that phrase.
He
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, bad memories from George W. Bush. Speaking of bad memories from George W. Bush, that gets into the story I wanted to touch on before we get to the huge headlines. Well, John Bolton's in there, Mr. Mustache. But actually, Connor, what I was thinking of is the pardon of Scooter Libby. Because you remember Scooter Libby was the chief of staff for Vice President Dick Cheney under George W. Bush as president. Huge fight between Dick Cheney and George W. Bush over whether or not Scooter Libby should be pardoned. Remember, he was convicted of lying to investigators about the whole outing of Valerie Plame, the CIA agent. And although Bush commuted his sentence, meaning he didn't have to go to the big house, he refused to take the extra step, which, of course, in the minds of many people, even many legal experts, commutation, pardon, no huge deal, really. It's just really a philosophical thing. All right, I'm not going to force you to go to prison, but I'm not going to pardon you either, because that implies sort of forgiveness. It doesn't say you were innocent. So they absolutely almost came to blows, Cheney and George W. Bush. But now, out of the blue, we see he is pardoned by Donald Trump. And just wondering if anybody has any reaction to that. I mean, a lot of people are saying that this prosecutor, Patrick Fitzgerald, really was pretty biased. He did not prosecute the actual leaker. The guy who revealed the fact that Valerie Plame was a CIA agent was Deputy Secretary of State Richard Armitage, a Democrat, and Fitzgerald didn't go after him, but he did insist on going after Libby. So I'm wondering, Connor, you have any thoughts on whether or not the Libby pardon was the right thing to do a few years after the fact?
I suspect that Donald Trump is just trying to sort of flex his pardoning muscles and normalize it a little bit. Look, I pardon people all the time. It's no big deal. Hey, I'm going to pardon Scooter Libby. I'm going to pardon this guy. I'm going to pardon this guy.
Yeah, well, Sheriff Arpaio, the Arizona guy, Sheriff Joe, you're right. He was one of, I think, of a handful of pardons that Trump has issued so far. The other one that I think of was the sailor who took some pictures of some submarine or something, and he was arrested for doing this. They were saying it's like espionage, and apparently there was some evidence that he was just being a tourist or something. And so apparently Trump felt he was appropriate. So maybe you're right.
And he said he never met Scooter Libby, by the way, which
Probably
I have no, he didn't.
Yeah.
The other thing was, and maybe you're going to get into it, is one of his attorneys is married to an attorney named Joseph DeGeneva.
Oh, right, who was briefly on the White House team.
That's right. Connection, maybe?
Okay, yeah.
Coincidence?
It pays to know people in high places. So anyway, Libby, who actually got his law license back about a decade ago because after the commutation, so he's getting his reputation back. Another issue I wanted to run by you guys that sort of perplexes me, and Connor, I don't know if you saw this in the news, but our esteemed mayor, Eric Garcetti, is in Iowa, a key early caucus state, having breakfast this weekend with union leaders there, Democrats, of course. In what alternate universe does this guy think he can become president?
I don't know, but speaking of alternate universes, here's Connor.
Oh my gosh, Connor! How did you get back here? How did you get back here from Damascus so quickly?
Syria.
Oh
yes.
my God! You were fighting missiles all the way, weren't you?
Eric Garcetti, I think,
notice he's ignoring the question
easily
of the late arrival. He's moving right into
That's
the Eric
right.
Garcetti.
Easily
That's
could
fine.
be mayor.
You were meeting with Eric Garcetti
Right,
in an
exactly.
undisclosed
That's exactly. I
location.
sprinted here from Iowa.
Am I being too cynical? I mean, but how does this guy think he can literally, not literally, figuratively, jump over Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton?
Is she running again? Wait a minute.
That's just it. Don't you think she would have a huge, even she would have a huge advantage over Eric Garcetti? How do you go past Bernie Sanders,
Tim Kaine,
Elizabeth Warren?
Yeah,
I mean, how can he think he would have a shot?
It's ridiculous. Plus, he also allegedly, reportedly said that L.A. was the same as Iowa. L.A. and Iowa are alike.
That's pretty
offend
strange.
I think he said that.
Offend more, Iowans or Los Angelinos? I think I'm offended more, but I'm biased because I am an Angelino. No, I think anybody with the name recognition is going to have a big leg up in political discussions.
And as McIntyre says on KBC, nobody knows who Eric Garcetti is in Los Angeles. They don't know him in the Valley. He's the mayor. They don't know.
I'd say he's not as big as Kamala Harris, and obviously he's not as big as these former presidential candidates like Bernie Sanders or even Hillary Clinton, who's probably the most recognizable woman on the planet. But he does have no scandals associated with his name that anyone actually cares about.
That's true.
Nobody knows enough about him to feel that he is scandal-ridden, whereas even the left have bad opinions about Kamala Harris. A lot of them see her as a tool for, basically the system of
but is that a
constant
qualification to
over-incarceration.
become president that you don't have any scandals? I mean, the guy who liked the red stapler in Office Space had no Oh, wait, he did. He burned down a building.
There was that. He had some
I withdraw that comment.
Just the one.
All right, I'm just going to go on record, guys.
He is so vanilla. He's more vanilla than vanilla.
I'm going to go on record.
He's transparent.
I'm saying
sorry.
Garcetti is not going to become president.
I don't think so.
At
A
least
safe
this
bet.
time
A
around.
safe bet.
Okay, so, and by the way, Connor, I mentioned when you were driving in.
From Syria, yes.
We're
From
going
Syria.
to try to make some guesses as to Bill Cosby. At the end of the show, I'm going to go on record as to whether Bill Cosby
Absolutely. I heard you the whole time.
goes down
I have a
or
satellite
not.
phone.
Now, another point I wanted to get into before we get to Cosby and Michael Cohen, and that is, it's a demonstration of the power of this show, guys. We made the moron of the quarter, Jeffrey Sessions, Attorney General, right?
Yes, of course.
That we voted. That
We had a big say in that, didn't we?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
and we thought he was really stupid because he said as to medical marijuana, people with cancer, they should just tough it out and
Yeah.
take some aspirin. So
Unbelievable.
we made him moron of the quarter.
Quarter, yes.
So what happened yesterday? His anti-marijuana approach has been vetoed by the president. There's a senator from Colorado, a guy who is in favor of the whole medical marijuana situation, and of course Colorado's gone recreational. He's a Republican. He was holding up judges who Trump wanted to appoint to the federal bench, because senators, have veto power,
Right.
regardless of what party they're in. And he leaned on Trump, and Trump actually reversed Sessions' approach. And so if a state has recreational marijuana, unlike Sessions, who were saying, I don't care
Smoke
if
'em
they
if you
proved
got
it.
'em?
Yeah, you don't smoke them even if you got them. So
Speaking
Trump,
of
Trump reversed that.
and I'm sure
Amazing.
maybe you heard about. Speaking of marijuana, John Boehner, a former
Yeah.
Speaker of the House,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden is pro pot.
All it took is how many $1 million.
He joined
they
what
gave
is he?
him.
Joined a
Lobbying
marijuana lobbying group or something. What did
Exactly.
he?
Yeah, and
Holy
he tweets out, you
mackerel.
know what, my thoughts have evolved. I guess what the subtext of that tweet is.
They paid me enough and,
they
yeah.
paid me enough. While I was in office and responsible to the people and, made laws that actually jailed people or set them free, I didn't look into it. Didn't do any research. But you know what? I feel like when someone starts paying me specifically to lobby for it,
He's taking a broader,
I just
fairer
don't
view
care
of
anymore.
things.
Can you imagine him smoking dope? Hey, don't bogart that.
It'd be
that
great.
joint or something.
Boehner?
It'd be great to
No.
party down with John Boehner. I think
Him and Cheech and Chong.
The only
would be,
artificial substance he uses is a very healthy fake tan, and he would never do anything but that.
All right, next pre-Cosby topic for you guys, revenge porn. Several years ago, California passed a law that says that if somebody gets a naked picture of you, while you're in a relationship, then you break up, and
Right.
then the bad guy puts your picture up on the web.
Or gal.
Yeah, or gal. Although you don't hear about it too much the other way.
I'm not going to speak to my experience, but no.
So anyway, we got this law, and there was a big decision just this week. A woman sued a guy. They dated in 2012, broke up in 2013. He puts her pictures and her phone and address on the web, and she
Oh,
starts
my
getting
God.
a lot of contacts from strangers.
Oh, my God.
So she sues in federal court.
Yes.
$6.5 million awarded against
Hell
her.
yeah. Does he have $6.5 million?
I'm sure he doesn't, but my question
Michael
is...
Cohen volunteered to come up with the money. Just kidding.
Mortgage his house. Just come
kidding.
up with the
Just
money.
kidding.
It's the
I
right
think
thing
Michael
to do.
Cohen is working pro bono for
Or Sonny
Trump.
Bono or something. I
Yeah.
can't remember.
So do you think maybe that's a little over the top, though? I'm okay with passing the revenge porn law.
Right.
I'm okay with her being able to go in and get special relief. I mean, in the old days, you'd have an invasion of privacy thing. It just wasn't as easy to win.
Right.
But I don't know, $6.5 million. That seems, as you say, it's academical in a way, because
Yeah.
I doubt that the guy's going to be able to do a GoFundMe
But it sent,
thing
it's, but it-
on
maybe
the internet.
Maybe the
Right.
jury sent a message. They figured
Yeah,
they
and
could
that's
send a
exactly
message
what it is.
and,
And it's not a terrible idea in my mind to give a multi-million-dollar award based on this. I think that, like a lot of these emotional distress cases and invasion of privacy cases, like, the damages can be big. That makes a lot of sense. It happens. So this is not categorically different from that. And the specifics of this situation, giving somebody the address and the phone number.
it's pretty
Yeah, that's bad.
That,
That's bad.
that could have led to someone's assault or her death or
Right,
something. That's
absolutely
horrific.
right.
So that's like a whole different level of this. And using it as an example for others isn't the worst idea ever.
And to give you the shocker O. Henry ending, you mentioned the jury, because you assumed that. He actually didn't show up. She took his default. There was no jury. The judge just the $6.5 million.
Wow.
When we come back, is Bill Cosby on his way to the big house? Stay with us.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show. You're experiencing pain, back pain, shoulder, elbow, or hand pain, pain from a sports injury. If so, schedule a visit with Dr. Michael Sheps, the leading expert in laser therapy for pain management. Call 310-873-4422 or go to drsheps.com. Experience Epic T, the breakthrough laser therapy system that Dr. Sheps developed to make you pain-free in less time. Laser therapy is a non-invasive, safe, and effective in-office procedure that penetrates deep into your skin without damaging the tissue. It perfectly targets areas of pain to promote fast, natural healing. Relax your muscles, ease muscle spasms, joint stiffness, and arthritis pain while increasing blood circulation. For over 25 years, Dr. Sheps has helped Olympic athletes and sports enthusiasts alike get back in the game. Schedule your visit with Dr. Sheps at his Brentwood office in California. Call 310-873-4422 or visit drsheps.com. That's DRSHEPS.com, 310-873-4422.
Hi, friends. This is Larry Minetti. Go to LarryMinetti.com to get my book, Aloha Magnum. You'll read all about the wonderful guest stars like Carol Burnett, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, and many, many more. There is an episode guide and my favorite recipes that I really cook at home. I will include a free signed photo with every book. Get Aloha Magnum at LarryMinetti.com. Order now. Aloha.
The legends of Ka'anapali Luau at the Ka'anapali Beach Hotel will take your breath away with an abundant feast, spellbinding dances, and music from Lei Pono Productions. Be greeted with a lei and browse to see island crafts made by local artisans. As you hear the pu or conch shell blow, your luau experience will begin. The featured entree is a whole roasted pig and a bountiful menu of some of Hawaii's favorite food choices. Oh, you can't forget our famous made in-house taro poi. As your night comes to an end under the spell of the moon, be amazed by the famous firewalk. By the end of the night, you'll be full, and we hope you'll have made new friends and some forever memories while you continue to listen to music from Maui's local Hawaiian musicians every Monday night at Hawaii's most Hawaiian hotel. Ka'anapali Beach Hotel, voted Best Aloha Spirit by Hawaii Magazine readers. Call 667-0128 or visit legendsofka'anapali.com for your exciting island adventure.
Trying to sell your old car? Instead, donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind. Pickup is free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats, whether they run or not. Call right now and receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call 1-800-785-9618. Donate your car today. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries and our millennial correspondent Connor Oakes. You guys know this group, right?
Of course.
One of the most esteemed
They're the
groups
kings
of all time.
well, I guess they're not the kings of rock and roll. More
Close.
like the Queen.
More like the Queens, yeah. And I just hope they get back together and get back on tour, because wouldn't
I
it be
got
great
some
for all of them
real
to get back
bad
together?
news for
Oh,
you.
What do you mean? No, I mean they
I don't
broke
wanna
up.
ruin
It's not
your
an ego
weekend.
thing.
Freddie Mercury is no longer.
Oh my
unfortunately,
goodness! I
the
guess
icon.
You heard about, by the way,
didn't
Fleetwood
admit
Mac fired Lindsey Buckingham.
How could they do that?
They just fired him. They fired his butt.
Maybe he went on vacation.
He went his own way.
We've done our job here.
Well, that's a little music trivia.
You know,
though.
speaking of doing our job, we got so excited in the first block of the show with Connor Oakes coming in from Damascus, Syria, and all those wacky stories that.
How are the missiles out there, by the way?
We didn't do moron of the week candidate. Let me lay this on you here. Her name is Kinesia Posey. She's 26. She's driving along in a car in Fort Pierce, Florida.
Okay.
John Phillips and Jillian play Florida or not
Florida, not Florida, yeah.
So sure enough, she's got marijuana and cocaine in her purse, and the cops are searching.
I would keep it.
And she admits, she said, "Yes, the marijuana is mine. You know, so sue me." But she says the cocaine. I don't know anything about cocaine. She says it's a windy day. She tells the cops it must have flown through the window and into my purse. Oh. She was booked into the county jail on felony.
I just read about that. Yeah.
So what do you think? Yeah. Do you think she's a good candidate for Moron of the Week to try to pitch the idea that the cocaine floated on a summer breeze?
I have never been to Florida.
All right.
all I know about it is from TV.
It's very windy.
Are extremely high winds,
and it's
hurricanes, and hurricanes.
And Miami Vice, you know there's lots of cocaine in
everywhere.
Florida.
Cocaine's everywhere.
Miami Vice.
Everywhere. Miami Vice, hurricanes.
And humidity.
And it's so humid, you keep your windows open.
You know why they call it Key West? It's Kilo West.
Kilo West,
Kilo West,
exactly.
yeah.
This is completely believable to me.
You're here all week, aren't you?
And
okay, Connor, I think you
on
just
board.
got hired as her defense attorney.
there we are. I need the work.
She like Bob Dylan because, blowing in the wind. Yeah, blowing in the wind. Okay.
So, Bill Cosby, guys, the jury was selected a week and a half or so ago. This was the first big week. And boy, Tom Mesereau, you remember the guy with the long, flowing white hair who got Michael Jackson off on the charges of molestation
Yes.
a decade or so ago? He's
do.
back. He is Bill Cosby's lawyer, new defense team, and he came out swinging. He came out, and in his opening statement, he's telling the jury about how Andrea Constand, the accuser, settled with Bill for $3.4 million. The prosecution owned up to that as well. And that actually raises a question. I mean, does it actually hurt or help Bill in a way?
Yeah.
The prosecution says, hey, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, he's guilty. He paid $3.5 million to her. The defense hammers on it and says, hey, this shows he's innocent because she made this up for the $3.4 million.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the defense attorney was really blasting away at her, talking about how she is working her famous mark for a big payday. She is a con artist with financial problems. We know what she wants from Bill Cosby, money, and lots more money. And he's even playing the sympathy card. He's talking about how, well, Bill was confiding in her. It was a very low point in his life. His son had just been murdered, and he was telling her.
Well, that was the murder, of course, is true.
Exactly.
Right.
And what an interesting, maybe good angle.
Well, did it
to
happen
play.
Did it happen around the same time? Is that possible?
I think it did.
Was it the early 90s?
I bet the internet would know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could check that. But what an interesting.
Yeah, Ennis was murdered in the Sepulveda Pass or something like that.
Because talk about bad PR for Bill Cosby. Nothing but pound over the last several months since Me Too was born last October. So what do you think? Do you think being really on the aggressive side as a defense attorney is the right approach to handle Bill Cosby's defense here? I mean, this lady, she's going to be testifying. She's going to be crying. She's going to talk about how it ruined her life. We're going to see 5 women.
And she hasn't testified yet, right?
No, I think what's happening is she's given some direct testimony, but the cross-examination, the fireworks, are going to be next week. But what happened is the prosecution's strategy was we're going to start out with the other women. This Janice Dickinson, who is an international model, and she says, Bill Cosby, I would like to hit you in the face.
Right.
And another one yells at him in court, and she says, you remember me, don't you, Mr. Cosby? So there's this wellspring of anger by multiple victims. So do you think that it's the right thing to do for the defense to really blast away at Andrea Constand on the money angle?
Honestly, they may have no other angle. It's possible they just don't have another viable strategy. I mean, this is a high risk, high reward.
Well, they could say,
strategy.
she followed him. She asked him for tickets. She took her parents to see him, gave him a gift afterwards, sort of a low key. Can you really believe her? Maybe she had a motive. But this is an angry.
Yeah, you're exactly right that they're already so in the hole based on the testimony of the other women that they may not be able to take that low key approach to say, well, what about these facts that might cloud the issue and sort of indicate that maybe it was consensual and she was involved in his life more. So that they have to fight fire with fire, Well, I think the big difference in this trial is the additional 5 victims. Hey, stick with us. We're going to talk to Michael Cohen when we come back.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show.
Hi everyone, this is Fred Dreyer with a big announcement. My new movie, Highway 395, has just been released. Don't miss this classic modern-day Western set along Highway 395 in California. It's an action thriller with some romance too. You can own Highway 395 today by going to my brand new website, freddryer.co. That's freddryer.co. Get my new movie, Highway 395, and check out my new website, freddryer.co.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS? Newsflash, the president has changed the tax laws, and now you may be able to pay the IRS less. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, the tax doctor can help you pay the IRS as little as possible allowed by law. There are new tax laws for business owners, the self-employed, even W-2 workers. If you have a back tax problem or a few years of unfilled returns, new help to save you money is now here. Call right now to see how the new tax laws can help you. Plus, right now, we'll waive the consultation fee and give you a free tax savings report. Attention business owners, the self-employed, and W-2 workers. Make this free call to the tax doctor now and learn how to take advantage of the new tax laws that may help you pay the IRS less. 800-985-1610. 800-985-1610. 800-985-1610. That's 800-985-1610.
Robert Conrad fans, listen up. From 1965 to 1969, it was nonstop excitement with Robert Conrad as James T. West and Ross Martin as Artemis Gordon in the Wild Wild West TV show. 30 years have passed since the first release of the Wild Wild West, the series book. And now, a new book is back and better than ever. Susan Kessler and her team put together thousands of hours of research, great photographs, interviews with original members, and so much more. The first edition was long considered a collector's dream. Now you can order the brand new 30th anniversary print edition online at wildwildwestbook.com for $38.95. The information remains, but there's more pictures. They're in color, 650 sketches and photographs, and so much more. Jim and Artie live again in the Wild Wild West, the series 30th anniversary edition. Go to wildwildwestbook.com. Order it today, wildwildwestbook.com, and have Robert Conrad in your home tonight.
You order a glass of your favorite Cabernet, fresh asparagus, hollandaise on the side, a filet, medium rare. You unfurl your napkin with a flair, close your eyes, and prepare to listen. Ah, there it is. The sweet music you long to hear. The sizzle. The sizzle of a Ruth's Chris steak.
The most magnificent corn-fed prime beef, broiled to perfection at 1,800 degrees. Some call it a sizzle. We call it an anthem.
As the waiter approaches, you think, is this one mine or that one?
Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Like Ruth always said, life's too short to eat anywhere else.
Make a reservation online at ruthschris.com or by calling 800-544-0808.
Trying to sell your old car? Instead, donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind. Pickup is free and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats, whether they run or not. Call right now and receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call 1-800-785-9618. Donate your car today. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries, our millennial correspondent Connor Oakes. So before we talk about Michael Cohen, there's another guy that's in some trouble. Guys, I wanted to run this by you. Kevin Spacey, apparently he may not be in the clear after all.
Thought he was.
Well, here's the deal. The L.A. County DA announced this week, they're looking into some charges, sexual assault charges from 1992. Now... there's a statute of limitations of 10 years in California for rape. In 2016, the legislature actually said, well, we're going to get rid of that, but it's not retroactive. You can't have an ex post facto law. So it did not eliminate the statute for pre-2016 acts. Now, we don't know if this would be sexual assault or rape or whatever, but it's definitely before 2016. And the head-scratcher part of this is there's no way, apparently, that under any statute, any way you look at it, the alleged victim was an adult, not a minor. Mm-hmm. That can kind of mess up the computation because you get age 18 to age 26, and then maybe you get recovered memory. And perhaps that's what we're talking about here. But, I mean, doesn't it strike you as strange that the DA would be investigating a 1992 assault when, under any conceivable computation, there's no way they could charge Kevin Spacey?
Well, you told me for a story we did on KBC that the likelihood of him being prosecuted on this is probably slim and none, and maybe slim left town. But
yeah, and of course we have talked on KBC.
But why would they announce it? Right.
Yeah, it's strange. But there's several. I mean, there's the guy, the young guy named Anthony Rapp, and he was only 14 back in the 80s when Spacey said, well, I may have been drunk and I really apologize. But they're not going after him for that. They're just looking at this 1992 deal. I mean, maybe it is what I mentioned a second ago. Maybe it's the recovered memory angle, or maybe the DA looks at something that, knowing that they can't really prosecute, but maybe they figure that'll tentacle out and get other facts, other people, other leads.
That, I think, is exactly it.
Why did they make they seem to make a big deal out of this announcement, too, for some reason. They put it out there like, did they do a press release?
Maybe
it was on the wire. The
like
local
doing press
news
conferences.
Well, Kevin Spacey's a big name.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a news conference. It came out in a press release, from what I recall. But even so,
I have to congratulate you for slipping the phrase ex post facto into that explanation, as though that's a phrase that human beings use, as though anyone knows what the heck ex post facto means.
I'm a robot, so that's why I came up
Mark
with it.
Zuckerberg
Deep in my
style
mainframe.
Law robot who just says, so what you were saying is that you can't have a law that goes backwards in time and says this thing that wasn't illegal at one point now is illegal, and therefore we're going to prosecute. If they made donuts illegal today, they couldn't charge me for eating a donut last week. And so they have a statute of limitations that runs on a 1992 claim. You can't go back and say, well, now the statute is 100 years, so we can prosecute you for 100 years after a crime. So all the statutes are off. That doesn't work, which makes sense, and it's great.
It's funny you mentioned the ex post facto phrase, because I try to avoid Latin phrases, fancy phrases, strange expressions that only geeky, nerdy lawyers.
Well, just
would
be aware of the Ides of March.
Right. I like that. Sure. But I think ex post facto actually is one of those phrases, because it's been so talked about in the Constitution. You can't have a retroactive law. It's just not fair to tell the entire nation, you can do A, B, C, D, and then the next year you make it illegal. You can't knock on the guy's door and say, hey, 5 years ago, you broke the law that we just passed now. So that's the ex post facto concept.
So you think it's permeated the collective American legal brain?
It's sort of okay for me to use it. Now, I have seen lawyers use the phrase sui generis, meaning original. And the only reason sui generis means original is because you're sitting in a boring law school class, and the boring law school professor uses it. But no normal human being
I went out with a girl named Susie Generous.
Okay.
And she was generous, too, let me tell you.
God.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
God, and now Ken will be here all week.
I'm so
all right,
sorry.
so let's talk Michael Cohen.
Yeah, please.
Does it bother anybody? It bothers a bunch of Republicans that Mueller passed this on to, I guess, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, and they went after the attorney-client privilege stuff. I mean, here is Trump's lawyer, and they're getting the computers, and they say, oh, well, don't worry. If it's privileged, we won't use it. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a dirty team.
Taint team.
That's not Latin. That's English.
That's a great phrase.
The dirty team is a bunch of U.S. attorneys that will go through the computer, and they'll say, oh, in fairness, this is privileged, that privileged. And so they send the non-privileged stuff on to Mueller and the guys that are going to prosecute.
The tank team, they call it also the tank team, is that right?
Tank or
as
taint?
in this issue is tainted by...
tainted. I misheard it.
You're thinking of Hulk Hogan and the tag team?
The tag team was...
with The Rock.
We should form a tag team.
But does it bother anybody? I think Trump may be getting some mileage out of complaining to the public, he's invading the attorney-client privilege.
That's something, yeah. I mean, the vast majority of Americans don't have an attorney. They don't utilize the attorney-client privilege, and most of the time they regard the attorney-client privilege as something that criminals utilize. So I think that while Trump might get a little bit of mileage out of it, the American public is, personally, I think wrongly, going to say, oh, well, the attorney-client privilege is how you hide secret illegal crime things that you do, so Trump must be hiding something. It's the same way that people say, oh, well, if you plead the Fifth Amendment and don't want to testify against yourself, you must be guilty. No, everyone should be pleading the Fifth Amendment. No one should be testifying.
Didn't Trump himself say that? Or he tweeted that or something?
He did say the attorney-client privilege is dead. Oh, a year ago.
No, about the pleading the Fifth Amendment or something like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He did say, "Why are you taking the Fifth Amendment if you are innocent?" Because he has been spouting off and saying anything that comes to the top of his head his entire life, and he's never paid any consequences for it. So obviously, everyone else should do the same thing.
Well, an interesting twist on this attorney-client privilege deal is the exception to the attorney-client privilege, namely the crime fraud exception. So here's the deal. As Connor was saying, people, wonder, well, you must be guilty if you're talking to a criminal lawyer. But in general, you're accused of a crime, or if you're just sued or want to sue, you sit down with a lawyer, and whatever you say to each other has got the cone of silence over it. It's shrouded by this confidentiality, which is a cool thing.
And very important to actually getting anything done and protecting your rights.
But what if you and I meet, Connor, and I'm your lawyer and you're my client, and you're on trial, and we say to each other, okay, we're talking attorney-client privilege. How are we going to bribe juror number 6? You think she'd like an angel food cake, or she'd just like a Benjamin in her hip pocket? If we do that, we're cooking up a crime, and the attorney-client privilege, you shred it. It's out the window. It's the crime or fraud exception.
And that's very different than you going to a lawyer and saying, I think I might have broken the law, or even saying, I did break the law. Please defend me in this lawsuit. That's not saying to the attorney, hey, join me in this crime. Let's commit crimes in the future. You're just talking about the past so that he can be your lawyer. That's super important.
So that's okay. I mean,
that's totally fine, and that does not break attorney-client privilege just because you have committed crimes. Otherwise, attorneys wouldn't be very effective.
Yeah. Do we think that all this sex stuff, Stormy Daniels, and now we're told the Access Hollywood Billy Bush vulgar comments in the RV, there's a link between that and Michael Cohen, that he somehow was involved in trying to suppress it or something. Do we think that people are going to step back and say, we're not surprised that Trump would have a fixer, a tough guy that bends the rules, but aren't we even further from collusion? And isn't this going to sort of shine a light on the fact that we still, after a couple of years, don't have the Russia connection and the collusion proof? It's just a bunch of sex.
We've got the connection.
Oh, where is it?
Oh boy, we've got the missing link, the anthropological jump. No,
Sasquatch?
You're right. It is a bridge. There is a jump from Russia to the fixer. And that is why a lot of people are saying, oh, well, this is why Mueller's team handed this off to the Southern District of New York, the state court to handle, state prosecutors to investigate this and handle it, because that's not the scope of his probe. But there are other people saying, actually, the fact that the WikiLeaks dump of the Podesta emails happened like 20 minutes after the leak of the Billy Bush tape is an indication that this was retaliatory, that this was that Trump or Cohen, the fixer who solves problems for Trump, calls up whoever is in charge of holding back the floodgates on the Podesta emails that we know we don't know, we kind of suspect that the Trump campaign knew about, at least in some form, because of Roger Stone. If they called them up and said, Trump is about to get a ton of heat about this whole grabbing women by the you-know-whats, how about we flood the airwaves with the Podesta emails, go, and then that's Cohen's role, that's Roger Stone's role, and there's the connection with the Russians.
If it's true.
Yeah, talk to the Russian hackers, have them release this, and then suddenly it's all part of the same tapestry.
So here's my theory. I think Mueller is working on being the flipper of the century. Now, the flipper of last century was that nice porpoise on TV. It was one of your favorite shows, I know, Ken. This century, I think what Mueller is working on is this. Michael Cohen is the fixer. For 10 to 15 years, he is absolutely, you talk about the soft underbelly, the dark web, he knows all of the secrets, where all the bodies are buried.
Deep state. Yeah, that's
the deep state of Donald Trump is in the mind of Michael Cohen. Yeah. If Mueller can pile up a bunch of charges, whether it has to do with Podesta or going to Prague or Stormy Daniels.
Or stuff unrelated to Trump at all.
Or whatever, and they'll sit down and say, Mr. Cohen, you want to smoke? You want a cup of coffee? So we've added it up here on our calculator from Radio Shack. We're looking at 87 years. And you will be, 112? At which point he will say, as he said to Flynn and Manafort and these other guys apparently,
plea.
We could go with 3 years. Yeah. So what'll it be? What'll it be?
Plea bargain?
To quote Jerry Lewis from The Nutty Professor, are you going to spill the beans about a couple of dozen really ugly things you've worked on? I wouldn't be surprised if that's what Mueller
is going after it, trying to make him state's evidence.
And that's his MO. Yeah, absolutely.
So Michael Cohen.
Plus, I think wasn't there also some word that Cohen may have recordings of Trump? Audio recordings.
The idea, or
we don't know yet.
If not of Trump, of other associates or of people that he recorded in order to play the tapes for Trump. So it's maybe stuff about Trump, and that was why perhaps it's a no-knock raid, so that he couldn't get on his computer and delete all this stuff or hit that hard drive with a hammer.
And all those recordings, and maybe that's why there was the raid, so he wouldn't destroy evidence.
Just the idea that you would record conversations as an attorney, either with your client or even with other people about information about your client, is so unbelievably irresponsible and outside the scope of what a lawyer does.
I want to ask a stupid question, but it's illegal. Doesn't he have to tell somebody he's recording them?
Depends on the state you're in. New York is actually a one-party consent state, so you don't have to tell people. California is a two-party. You have to tell.
But it was all done in Trump's a New York guy, so
exactly.
I don't think he doesn't want to set foot in California.
Yeah, California is actually a misdemeanor. It's a crime to do that. The angle of Trump saying, I didn't know anything about $130,000 being paid to Stormy Daniels. Earlier show, we were talking about how that could undermine the argument that the arbitration agreement and the release agreement is enforceable.
With Stormy Daniels, yeah.
But now this actually could affect the issue of attorney-client privilege because Trump is saying, well, I had an attorney-client relationship with Michael Cohen, and so all our communications are protected. But if, in fact, Trump was unaware of the agreement to pay $130,000, in what sense could he have had an attorney-client relationship with Cohen regarding the Stormy Daniels deal if he didn't know anything about it?
Yeah.
So it's that. So there is no attorney-client privilege in the case. Right?
Plus, attorney-client privilege, it only governs the conversations, communications you have with your client. Now, there's a separate thing called the work product privilege, which is a little bit different, but it protects the sort of the stuff you create. If you make notes on someone's case and you're a lawyer, then those notes will be covered by the work product privilege. But there are all these different things that have different scopes, and if you don't treat the documents the right way, and if you don't keep them secret, and if you show them to people, you might waive those privileges. So there's a ton of stuff that Cohen could have that even at one point might have been covered by the attorney-client privilege or work product doctrine that is no longer covered or never fell under that scope at all. And so this no-knock raid might have turned up a whole bunch of stuff that technically might end up in the public domain. We'll see in a couple of months when Mueller decides to make it all public.
So James Comey has come out with his book. I guess it's going to hit the stores on Tuesday, but Stephanopoulos of ABC had like a 5-hour interview with him, and they've been dribbling out excerpts. And he's getting kind of personal. He's talking about the size of Trump's hands.
Yeah, I was going to. I wonder why he did that. That's kind of strange.
I
don't know.
It kind of undermines your credibility.
Yeah,
and makes you look petty and makes people think, oh, well, maybe these.
But his eyes had half moons under them or something. And
it's very poetic. Yeah. Well, Comey's apparently a prolific note taker.
The hands thing almost seemed like a cheap shot.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
And the big picture with Comey, to me, is so bizarre that he is an equal opportunity, object of hate.
Yeah.
I mean, when he came out and had that press conference about Hillary. All the Hillary people hated him for saying, oh, my God, how dare you go through this litany of things you think we did wrong. And then at the end of the press conference, he says, but nothing to see here, folks. Return to your homes. I'm not recommending prosecution. Suddenly, he's okay. Hillary likes him. Then a few months later in October, the famous,
right before election
I'm reopening it, and Hillary hates him for that. And then a few days later, he flips. And now he's totally against Trump. I mean, some people were speculating that basically it was all about job security from Comey's standpoint, and he would like to have not been fired by Trump, so he was going along with all this stuff. But now that he was fired, it's blasting away.
Well, he said now that he thought Hillary Clinton was going to win. And that's why he did what he did.
Yeah, actually, that is a weird way to phrase it by him.
And it's strange reasoning too.
Yeah, the decision to go public or continue continue an investigation or not continue an investigation shouldn't be based on poll numbers of the candidates. But in reality, if you get practical with it, in a way, you can think, okay, I should, investigate or not investigate somebody who will become or not become the president of the United States. I have to think about the implications, the reality, the practicalities of whether I'm going to be investigating the president or a failed presidential candidate moving forward. That will change things. Does it change whether you go forward with the investigation at all? No, it just affects the way you conduct it or have to conduct it.
It was weird. The whole thing
was
was
very, very weird.
And, he's right at the nuclear core of the obstruction of justice count, which to me is maybe the strongest thing that Mueller might come up with. In terms of Russia collusion, if it's there, it's there. It doesn't seem like it is. All the sex stuff, people are going to say, yeah, all the presidents do that. But when it comes to actually obstructing justice, of firing people in order to prevent prosecutions, and Comey could have the goods on that because, he took these contemporaneous notes, and yet I think it undermines his credibility to try to make millions selling a book, taking all these personal shots against him.
Absolutely. The most amazing thing that came out of the book, of course, is that Comey said that Trump told him, hey, for Melania's, peace of mind, can you investigate the P-tape?
P-tape, yeah.
That doesn't exist. It doesn't exist at all. But could you find out where it is and who has copies of it, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't exist, of course. I mean, obviously it doesn't exist. But, if you could destroy it.
So when we come back,
that would be great.
As promised, we're going to resolve the age-old question. Are chimpanzees people? Stay with us.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show.
Hey, Lorraine, do you realize that your mother, my mother-in-law, Chef Maria, has been serving Las Vegas since 1949?
Yes, I do, Dennis. That's when she first met Howard Hughes, who fell in love with her cooking.
And in 1955, she opened her first restaurant on Fremont Street.
Yes, dear. And another great customer was Liberace.
Wow. Then in 1962, while Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack were causing global excitement on the Las Vegas Strip, your family opened their second restaurant.
And in 1972, Elvis Presley began electrifying Las Vegas audiences and eating in our restaurant.
You know, Lorraine, this is quite a town. There's only one Las Vegas.
And there's only one Bootlegger Italian Bistro.
Folks, when you're in Las Vegas, come visit us. We'll make you feel like you're part of our family.
The Bootlegger Italian Bistro, conveniently located at 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard, South Strip. Visit our website at www.bootleggerlasvegas.com.
The smartest way for you to get the lowest prices on your plane tickets, domestic or international, is to call SmartFares first or last, but you've got to call us before you book your plane tickets. Fly anywhere in the world, fly anywhere in the U.S., and SmartFares can save you up to 75% on your plane tickets. We have the lowest airline ticket prices on over 500 airlines, and you've got a great 12-hour free cancellation window. Plus, with our live agent help, you can always get fast help and fast answers. So on your next trip, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, how about right now? Pick up your phone and call SmartFares, plus save up to 75% on your plane reservation. So call right now. 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries and our millennial correspondent Connor Oakes. So, guys, are chimps people? It was an article on the New York Times last Sunday. They can communicate through sign language. They recognize themselves in a mirror. They have long-lasting friendships.
They appreciate the value of a good banana.
There you go. But people don't think of them as persons. So this clinical assistant professor of environmental studies at NYU, he's part of a group called the Non-Human Rights Project since 2013 on behalf of a pair of chimpanzees, Kiko and Tommy.
Awesome.
Held in cages by their owners without the company of other chimpanzees.
Not awesome.
The program is asking the courts to rule that Kiko and Tommy have a right to body liberty and to order their immediate release into a sanctuary where they can live out the rest of their lives with other chimpanzees. In the U.S., you are either a person or a thing. There is no third option. If you're a person, you have capacity for rights, habeas corpus.
Right.
Wait, that's Latin.
That's Latin. You can't
it's
say
just
it.
like ex post facto.
Means produce the body. Don't worry about it.
E pluribus
It
unum.
protects you from unlawful confinement. If you're a thing, you do not have capacity for rights. So everybody knows they're sensitive, intelligent, social beings. But they're things under the law. So this New York Times article argues that, hey, if every being must be a person or a thing, let's make chimpanzees persons, not things. How would you vote on that?
It makes sense. We've got animal cruelty laws already, generally. And we have animal cruelty laws because we know that animals are in some way an exception to the rule of you can do whatever you want to a thing, right? Already, obviously, we get it. And we do that because we understand that they suffer. We understand that they should have some rights. We understand, that they are different than a car or a rock or my phone or whatever. So
my Impala would suffer if I took a baseball bat to it.
You're absolutely right. It would. And a good example with the name. I like that a lot.
Because it's an animal.
Right. Yeah, it was really good. But I get it. I totally get it. The question just becomes, what has our expanding moral circle gotten to? What point has it arrived at? And if we decided that it's the right thing to do, and I feel personally, my opinion is that that's inevitable for most animals of any level of intelligence. And if we fast forward 1,000 years into the human future, the odds are good that we're looking back and thinking the fact that we were killing things and eating them that were, capable of sign language.
Well, plus I've seen those Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They're smarter than I am.
It's even pervaded our media. The idea that these people, they're so close to us. They look like us. They think like us. They love like us. They suffer like us.
So this guy, he says there's an argument. Only humans have the ability to use language and reason in abstract and sophisticated ways.
Yeah.
But he says, well, that doesn't really make sense because, early in life, when you're a baby, you can't do this. And some people develop these abilities later in life, more sophisticated ways than other. Some of us never develop them.
Yeah.
But I think the big argument is the one you touched on, is that people are going to tend to say, we've got cruelty to animal laws, so why should we treat them like people? Because doggone it, they're just not people.
Yeah, that's true. And it's not unreasonable to try and draw these lines. It makes sense to try and find the difference between animals and humans and to decide how to treat them based thereon. Yeah. There are lines you can draw that might seem somewhat arbitrary. For example, there are those that would say, if you look at all the communications that apes and other animals have ever had with humans via sign language or any other method, they don't ask questions of humans. There's a barrier. There's something about their brains. They don't understand the idea that other people are independent, different minds that they could get information from. They don't say, where are the bananas? They just say, give me a banana. They never ask a question, and we think maybe there's something different fundamentally between them and us. I don't know if that means they deserve to suffer in a cage, but...
So we're about out of time. We'll actually get to vote on our Moron of the Week next week. But right now, Jose, let's hit the hot tub time machine segment.
With George McGovern as President of the United States, we wouldn't have to have Gestapo tactics in the streets of Chicago.
Mr. Daley is not pleased with Senator Ribicoff.
How hard it is.
It's either Ribicoff or Daley.
Ribicoff and Daley. 50 years ago, we're focusing on 1960.
Richard Daley and
never gotten this.
Democrat convention, total implosion, riots in the streets.
Whoa!
Led to Richard Nixon's election. Hey, folks, see you next week on the Royal Oak Show.
CRN Digital Talk Radio.